Hi, Travis Wayne Goodsell. My Seer Stones of Darkness are uploading on YouTube, so I thought I would hold off on sleep like I really need and do one more video for you. This is going back to the 100 billion. We cannot let Mormons forget about this and sweep it under the rug and hope that everybody else forgets about it and leaves them alone. Mormons cannot be left alone on this. This is criminal. This is not just errors in doctrinal or history or theology. This is criminal, 100 billion. And so for the church's first presidency statement to use a biblical passage of the parable of the talents as their justification for stealing tithing from Mormons into this other corporation that they own, which has articles of incorporation that tell the IRS that their purpose for this corporation, Ensign Peak Associates, is for charity. And then they're not giving a single penny to charity. They're using every penny to gain further interest to make over $100 billion for that just one company of the church. And so this is bad. And so I thought I would share another Jesus story about how Jesus disapproves of what the church is doing with tithing. Because apparently the Mormon prophets are refusing to inform their Mormons about the truth. As Mormons are desperately trying to put out their denial videos on YouTube and Facebook probably. I don't have Facebook, so I don't know. But I'm sure they're on there too. And Instagram or Twitter or whatever. And so this video, as I've already done the rich man, Jesus and the rich man, this one is Jesus and the temple at Passover with the money changers. It's in John chapter 2, starting in verse 13. And the Jews' Passover was at hand. If you don't know the Jewish Passover, first of all, where have you been? You're not reading your Bible. But the Passover goes back to Moses and the Exodus. As Pharaoh continually refused to let the house of Israel go, great song, Louis Armstrong, awesome. Let my people go. The Lord had one final straw, of which Pharaoh crossed. And so, Creeping Death, great Metallica song, goes over all about it. Among my favorites of Metallica. But, yeah. Pharaoh's firstborn, along with the firstborn of Egypt, and the firstborn of the cattle and animals, all were slaughtered. Now, if you remember your biblical story, you'll also remember during Moses' birth that the Pharaoh also was causing the murder of babies, male babies. Not a coincidence. But we're not here to talk about that. I'm just giving you a background, because Jesus is supposed to be the fulfillment of the Passover. As baby Moses, and then Moses battling for the throne of Egypt. That's the real story. The Bible doesn't tell you that one. And so Jesus goes up to Jerusalem, as all Jews did. They did pilgrimages. So they come from all over the land where they've been scattered to come to Jerusalem to celebrate Passover. And during Passover, you make offerings of animals at the temple. Animal sacrifices. And so this is why in 14 it says, "And found in the temple those that sold oxen, sheep, and doves, and the changers of money, sitting." So the oxen, sheep, and dove were the requirements for the temple sacrifices, and the changers of money were for the pilgrims who came from other areas where they used other monetary systems, other coinage. And so the changers of money would exchange them. Sort of like your international coins at your bank. You can change the money into whatever country's denominate or numeration money. And so this is the setting, and this is a common theme. They were trying to make money to make it convenient for the pilgrims. If they can't bring their oxen from far away and their sheep and doves so that they can make a sacrifice, the people then are conditioned to say, "Oh, well, there'll be some there that we can buy, and we just got to bring the money." And so 15, this is what Jesus does in response. Remember, the Passover is the celebration of creeping death, where the lamb's blood from the lamb that was slaughtered was spread on the doorposts, so that creeping death would pass them by. And the firstborn of Egypt all died. And if you don't understand the governmental system, which was also the religious system, the firstborn was the heir to the throne. So the death of the firstborn of Pharaoh and the firstborn of all Egypt indicated they lost the right to the throne. That's why I said Moses was challenging for the throne. And that's the story they're not telling, but it's in there. And so Jesus, when he made a scourge, incorrectly translated, it's a whip of small cords. Interesting, Jesus was whipped at his crucifixion as he was held captive before that. He drove them out of the temple, and the sheep and the oxen, and poured out the changers' money, and overthrew the tables. He went nuts. He had the whip, and he was whipping everybody, tossing up the tables. He was in a fury. The nice, peaceful Jesus, huh? Not the wrathful Jesus of the Old Testament, which was wrong. There is no wrathful God of the Old Testament. Read it again. He warned Noah, who warned the people. The people chose not to listen. Noah said, "Build a boat. There's rain coming to flood the land." They said, "No, we don't see it raining." They were warned. They chose not to listen. That's not a wrathful God. Amos 3:7, by the way. And said unto them that sold doves, Take these things hence, and make not my Father's house a house of merchandise. And there's the connection to today and the Mormon Church. So Mormons, Do you remember all the questions for your temple recommend worthiness interview? There's a list of questions that bishops and stake presidents ask you in order to find you worthy to go through the temple. I believe it's number 10, according to President Nelson in his conference talk this last October. He publicly announced the house of merchandise. And it has to do with the tithing, of which the church is making hundreds of billions as they exchange the money through the investments. It's tithing, by the way, in case you didn't know. All Mormons must pay protection money, which Mormons call fire insurance, in order to be worthy to go through the temple. So if you don't have a job because you're poor, or you're disabled, or you're a child, or you're elderly and receiving Social Security, you're unworthy according to the church, unless you pay up from whatever source of income you receive. You cannot go through the temple, and you definitely can't receive assistance. You have to be a full tithe payer to receive assistance from the church, which is only supposed to be temporary. That's another crime. And so, in order to go through the temple, you have to pay up to be found worthy to go through the temple for Mormon exaltation. And Jesus condemns it from his own words as represented in the Gospel of John. So again, Isaiah, come by without money and without price. Isaiah knew you don't pay for exaltation. And thus the church automatically is wrong, because they're not following the commandments of Jesus when they claim it's Jesus' church. Jesus tells us what to do. He's the head of the church. Apparently not. I'm reading the words of Jesus from the Gospel of John. And the church is doing the bad example again. All the bad examples from scriptures, even the Book of Mormon, the church leaders are doing it. They have become the great and abominable church. They have become the kingdom of King Noah. They have become the Zoramites, the rich Zoramites. They have become the Gadianton robbers. They have become the Antichrists. They have become those who practice priestcraft. And priestcraft is an exclusive word to the Book of Mormon. Google search it, you won't find it. So, it's just sickening, horrifying that the church I was born and raised in trusted to be telling me the truth, that they acted for Jesus directly. All a lie. And the 100 billion is the fruits that they are false prophets.